Tonight, at some point, you're probably going to walk into a bathroom and barely notice the miracle happening around you. You might be half asleep, annoyed by the cold floor, just trying to get back to bed as fast as possible. A minute later, the problem is gone. A small handle moves, water rushes, and one of the most embarrassing parts of being alive disappears beneath the floor like it was never there. That is the strange part. The bathroom feels ordinary because it works so well. It takes something every human body has to deal with and hides the entire process behind a door. You do not have to think about where it goes. You do not have to smell it tomorrow. You do not have to worry that the place you sleep is slowly turning against you. But for almost all of human history, that little room did not exist. So imagine the same moment, except there is no quiet private space waiting for you. There is no hidden system under the floor. There is only the camp, the darkness outside it, and a body that does not care whether civilization has invented plumbing yet. At first, the answer seems simple. Ancient humans went outside, and for a long time, that probably worked well enough. If you are part of a small group moving through a huge landscape, waste is unpleasant, but it does not become the center of your life. You step away from camp, find a place that feels far enough, and by the time the group moves on, the land has already begun doing what land does. Movement solved the problem before it could grow teeth. But then, humans changed the rules. We stopped moving as much. We began staying near good water, good soil, and places that could feed us again and again. A temporary camp became a familiar place became a settlement, and once people started returning to the same ground every morning, yesterday's waste was suddenly still part of today's world. That is when the toilet problem stopped being funny, because human waste is not just gross. It is dangerous. It can seep toward water. It can pull insects toward food. It can make a place feel alive in the worst possible way, as if the ground itself is starting to rot around the people who trusted it. Ancient people did not understand germs the way we do now, but they did not need a microscope to know when something was wrong. A place that smelled foul usually brought trouble with it. Dirty water had consequences. A camp that stayed messy became harder to live in. Human beings are very good at noticing patterns when the pattern ends with someone getting sick. So the first real solution was not a toilet, it was distance. The dirty place had to be separate from the living place. That sounds basic, but it is one of the oldest ideas behind sanitation. Somewhere in the deep past, people realized that survival was not only about finding food or keeping warm, it was also about making sure the remains of yesterday did not poison tomorrow. A hole in the ground does not look like an invention. Nobody points at a pit and thinks this is where civilization begins. But in a strange way, it is. A pit means someone has decided that waste belongs in a controlled place. It means the group is no longer pretending the problem disappears by itself. From there, the ideas slowly became more organized. Some communities dug latrines outside the main living area. Some covered waste to keep down the smell. Some chose places where runoff would not flow back toward water. The solutions were rough, but the logic was sharp. Keep the body's mess away from the body's survival. That is the part we often miss about ancient life. We imagine people from the past as dirty because they did not have our technology, but many of them were fighting the same fight with fewer tools. They may not have known the invisible cause of disease. They understood the visible warning signs. Smell mattered. Flies mattered. Bad water mattered. The body was giving them clues, and over time, they learned to listen. Then, in some places, the solution became shockingly advanced. In the ancient Indus Valley, cities like Mohenjo-Daro were built with drains that still feel almost unbelievable. Some homes had small toilet areas connected to channels that carried waste away. The important thing is not that these were modern bathrooms, because they were not. The important thing is that the city itself was designed with the human body in mind. That changes how you see ancient civilization. A city is not impressive just because it has walls or buildings that last for thousands of years. A city is impressive when it can handle the quiet disaster produced by everyday life. The real test is not only whether people can gather in one place. The real test is whether they can stay there without slowly making the place unlivable. That is why drains matter. A drain is boring until you imagine life without it. Then it becomes one of the most important lines in the city. It is the difference between waste staying beside you and waste moving away from you. It is not a monument anyone celebrates, but it may have done more for daily survival than half the things we call glorious. Other ancient societies solved the problem in their own ways. In Egypt, a wealthy person might have a more comfortable setup, while someone poorer had to make do with something far simpler. That difference matters because sanitation position has always been tied to power. The body may be universal, but dignity has never been handed out equally. The Romans pushed this even further. They built public latrines, and the strange thing is that these places were not always private in the way we understand privacy today. A Roman could sit beside other people while handling something most modern humans would rather pretend never happens. To us, that feels almost impossible to imagine. Today, a bathroom stall is supposed to protect you from eye contact, sound, and the terrifying knowledge that other humans have bodies too. But privacy is partly a technology. A door changes what shame feels like. A lock changes what dignity feels like. A room built for one person teaches the body to expect solitude. Without those things, people develop different rules. They still feel embarrassment, but the shape of embarrassment changes around the world they live in. That might be the weirdest part of this question. Ancient humans did not only survive without toilets, they survived without the modern idea of the bathroom. They lived in a world where the body was harder to hide. The smell of life was closer. The work of cleaning up after people was more visible. Someone had to empty the container, maintain the latrine, or deal with the place where everyone else's waste collected. Modern plumbing makes that work disappear so completely that we forget it is work at all. When you flush a toilet, you are not destroying anything. You are sending it into a system maintained by people you will probably never meet. The ancient world did not have that luxury. The dirty work stayed close enough to be seen, smelled, and assigned to someone. And when those systems failed, cities paid for it. A growing settlement creates pressure on everything around it. More people means more waste. More waste means more chances for water to turn dangerous. If the city cannot move the problem away fast enough, the problem comes back through sickness. That is why the toilet is more than a convenience. It is a survival device disguised as a boring household object. It does not look heroic. It does not feel ancient. It does not make you think about history when you walk past it in the hallway. But the basic idea behind it is one of the oldest lessons humans ever learned. A place where people live must have a way to remove what people leave behind. That sentence sounds almost too obvious now, but it took thousands of years to solve well. Before the modern bathroom, humans lived through every rough draft of that solution. They used distance before plumbing. They used drains before they understood bacteria. They built habits around danger long before they had the science to explain it. So how did ancient humans survive without toilets? They survived by paying attention. They watched what happened when waste stayed too close. They learned that clean water was fragile. They discovered that a settlement could become its own enemy if the dirty parts of life were ignored. And slowly, unevenly, across different places and different centuries, they built systems that pushed the problem farther away. It was not always clean. It was not always safe. It was definitely not comfortable in the way we expect comfort now, but it was human. That is what makes the modern bathroom so strange. It feels like a private little room, but it is really the final shape of a very old fear. The fear that the place keeping us alive can also become the place that makes us sick. The fear that the body, if ignored, can quietly defeat the society built around it. So the next time you press a handle and walk away without thinking, remember what is really happening. You are not just using a toilet. You are using one of civilization's quietest victories, the ability to make a problem disappear before it has the chance to come back and kill you.